Welcome back to the High School Fan Zone on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3 mobile app. My name is Andres Flores. We are joined by Mike Graham, high school sports writer here for Lonestar Varsity. He joins us now. Mike, how is it going this evening?
Hey, it's going good. I'm really excited about what this week is bringing, which is obviously the state quarterfinals / the Region 1 championship game. And it's a really exciting time to be in town, I think. It's been a long time since a Lubbock ISD team in particular has done it. But it's quite a rare accomplishment for a West Texas team in general.
Got to start with Coronado, no doubt about it. 80-62 win over Colleyville Heritage. How does a team score 80 points in a high school playoff game?
Yeah, it's really one of those things where I think a game just gets away from both teams, and it just really opened up. And that's really all there is to say about it. Both teams had athletic players and really good quarterbacks, and, I wouldn't have been surprised if you told me that game was going to end 55-35, but it just really opened up and became an offensive slugfest. So I think at the beginning there were a couple of lucky breaks that allowed the scoring to get up there. And then after that, when everyone gets frantic and really starts forcing things, in this particular game, the forces worked, and it just obviously got above 140 points.
From what you know, is this the most points scored in either a high school game, regular season, or playoff game, or do you know the record there?
It is not. I don't know the record, but I do know that it was not. But Coronado was the only 11-man football school this year to hang 80 on an opponent thus far, and one of 5 in the past 5 years. But they did not get close to the record. I believe that's north of 90 points.
Speaking with Mike Graham from Lonestar Varsity, he was actually there for the Coronado game at Wildcat Stadium on the campus of Abilene Christian University. How good of a venue was that? Was that your first time there?
It was, and I really liked it. I think that they could host a lot of interesting things, maybe a junior college playoff game, a junior college bowl game. Obviously, I think they had the FCS playoffs in mind when they built the thing, and now they're moving up, obviously trying to move up to the Division I FBS level, and it's a great facility. Reminds me a lot of a soccer stadium right now, the way it's built. A place that can seat about 14,000 now, but you see how it was built, and you imagine that they could probably expand that thing to 40 if they needed to at one day. The bowls aren't very bowled in yet, and I think you could expand the sideline stands way out if you needed to. Obviously, that's a huge investment, though, and I think everyone's happy with where it is, and it's obviously getting a lot of playoff traffic right now from the high schools.
Will you be there again this coming up Saturday?
I will. I'm really excited about it. Know a little bit about Denton Ryan. I saw them play my own alma mater back when they were a Region 2 team. I know that they've always got a good program, and it's definitely exciting to see a Lubbock school run across, I think, a team that a lot of people at the beginning of the year tabbed as the 5A Division I favorite for the state championship.
Mike Graham joins us now here on the Benchmark Hotline. Coronado, the first LISD team to make the regional final since 1992. That was the Estacado Matadors. That stat right there, is it more shocking or surprising that Coronado is the first one since 92?
Probably shocking. I think a lot of regions go through hot and dry runs, but it's rare that one lasts 25 years like that. And I think that shows just, the population shifts away from West Texas. Now, Lubbock itself is growing, but a lot of the surrounding communities, they're getting absorbed by Lubbock, or people are going to Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio for jobs, and that's kind of reflected in their football. I think that Dallas and Houston have always been great hotbeds for football. East Texas as well, but now you're seeing Austin definitely get into the mix. Lake Travis, Austin, Westlake, and recently the San Antonio schools too. So there have been some challenges to get back to this level, especially fielding a extremely competitive team on the 5A or 6A level. But Coronado has broken through, and I don't see any reason why that's going to stop in the next few years. I really like what Monterey has in the tank for next year, as well as Coronado. We talk about a lot of their players at Coronado, and a lot of them are underclassmen. Caleb Manuel, Blair Conwright, a lot of the defenders. I mean, it's just a really good time for both those two programs.
This is kind of your first season back here with Lonestar Varsity in the Lubbock area. Now, you previously were here, but you were also spent some time in East Texas, and you've seen plenty of the DFW area schools. But what is it going to take for the 806 area teams to consistently compete with teams out of the Metroplex? Has it already started?
I think so. I mean, the city is growing, and you can see that when they're, doing construction. I think there's like this master plan in now for 350,000 people. I think that's good enough to field a couple of competitive football programs year over year over year over year. And obviously they've had that for a long time in Dallas and Houston. I mean, since the inception of high-level high school football, those cities have had the population to put up good teams. And I think Lubbock is just kind of arriving on that level. Now, if we knock down all the high schools and built one, and there was a town of 350,000, or as it stands right now, 275,000, and there was just one high school, I think that Lubbock would compete for that state championship year after year. But that just sounds like a dumb idea, stacking so many kids in a single high school. And it'd probably be the biggest in the state. And I think there's a fine balance there between how many high schools you have and the population.
Now, you've been able to speak with Coach Max Catwinkle there at Lubbock Cooper, and even myself there being the color commentator for the football team. And he said plenty of times that he likes to schedule Metroplex teams in the pre-district schedule, maybe week 2, week 3, just to prepare the Pirates for a deep run of the playoffs and kind of what Coronado's going through now. Do you see maybe either LISD doing that, or is it a good idea just to play Metroplex teams, before you get to see them in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's a case by case decision for each school, because there are a lot of things you don't think about. It's not as simple as scheduling a Metroplex school for the competition that let's say Coronado's looking for a game against a Metroplex school. Well, the Metroplex school might like Coronado, and they might like them more than another potential opponent, but one opponent is 8 miles away and one is 350 miles away. So they could do one of two things. They could say, yeah, we'll go play Lubbock because we like them better, and we'll spend a lot of money on diesel fuel and buses, and our fans are going to have to overnight it. But they'll probably say, yeah, we'll play you, Coronado, but you're coming to our place 2 years in a row, and we'll give you the gate for one of the years. And then it's Coronado incurring all those fees and inconveniencing their fans to go to the Metroplex and get a night in a hotel and all those things. And logistically, at some point, it just becomes, is it really worth it? Is it really worth doing all this to pursue a state championship?
Back to Coronado this season, Quay Gray passes Kyler Murray in passing yards. I believe it was like 12th all-time on that list there. How impressive is that there for Quay Gray?
It is, and we learned he also passed G.J. Kinney in that game. So, I mean, that's some special company. Kinney is a quarterback. He's kind of a NFL journeyman. He's the big brother of McLean Carter, actually, from Texas Tech. They're half-brothers. Kind of a journeyman around the NFL. Went to Texas, ended up starring at Tulsa, and it's definitely impressive company. And then you talk about Kyler Murray, who kind of did it all, went 42-0 as a starting quarterback beginning his sophomore year. Amazing lineage with his dad having played at A&M, and just being respected as a baseball player too on top of all that. So, yeah, Quay, I would say, definitely passed some elite high school company with his performance on Saturday. And he's a guy, I think we talked about this before, that some coaches like to stay away from him just because it would take some time to get his mechanics right. But I think more and more he's showing, give me an opportunity and I'll prove you right. He's got some good receivers on the high school level, no doubt. But a lot of the things he's been doing the past couple of weeks have been his own creations, whether it's a perfect throw or taking off and running for 74 yards like he did against Heritage this past week. He's a very good quarterback. And I don't think he's the only one in Lubbock that merits that kind of consideration. I think Brylan Lawson-Young also had a phenomenal senior season. I think those two quarterbacks are very similar. I think that a Division I university that took a chance on them probably wouldn't regret it.
You may not know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. In this game against Denton Ryan, is there a chance he can maybe pass another name, or is that kind of far off?
I think at this point, like they get exponentially tougher to cross, and I still need to look at that. But I do not believe he is within like a one-game performance of number 10 on that list.
Well, hopefully the Mustangs can win this one and can continue going on. It's Denton Ryan coming up on Saturday at 2:00 there from Abilene Christian. What else do you know about Denton Ryan? Now they have a quarterback committed to Oklahoma State, and then I believe a receiver committed to Texas Tech, so they're pretty good too.
That's right, Nick Gabriel, who will be up here this time next year, and that's got to be interesting for him. All these Lubbock schools running across him, who could be his classmates next year, could be preferred walk-ons with him next year. But I think Spencer Sanders is really the guy. He's another Denton guy going to Oklahoma State. There have been a couple. I don't know if Ryan has ever produced one. Oh, they've produced some great quarterbacks for their schools, but I think his name's J.W. Walsh, the coach's son from Guyer, went to Oklahoma State. So there's a familiarity with Denton ISD and the Oklahoma State staff, and this is a good quarterback. I mean, frankly, he reminds me of Lawson Young from Monterey. He's big. He imposes his frame on you when he runs the football, and he throws a good ball too. So he's very tough, and I think that the keys for this game for Coronado are going to be pressuring him with their defensive line and getting the ball up in the air in a hurry, messing up the timing of the pass, knocking the quarterback around a little bit. And then I think it's going to be sure tackling from the linebackers and the defensive backs when Sanders decides to take off and run. This is a good quarterback. This is someone who probably would have guided Denton Ryan to a state championship last year as a junior. He got hurt in the state semifinal game against Dallas Highland Park, and that allowed Highland Park to play a manageable game against Denton Ryan. It was very close until the end. Denton Ryan's backup quarterback got hurt, so I think down by a possession, maybe even smaller than a full possession down, their third-string quarterback had to drive them down the field for the win. I believe he threw an interception. But, I mean, if Sanders hadn't got hurt, it could have been Denton Ryan easily that won the state championship last year.
He's Mike Graham from Lonestar Varsity joining us now. Before I let you go, I do want to talk some realignment. Big day today, Revival Day, as you called it, for UIL and teams here locally in the area of Lonestar Varsity. What was the biggest surprise today out of all that news?
Well, I think it was how Abernathy and Post got so close to the 3A and 2A line. Abernathy, which went to the state semifinal last year in 2A Division I as far as football, is moving up to 3A. All of its sports moving up to 3A. And it'll compete as a 3A Division II program. And they were only 6 away from staying in 2A. So it really shows you, there's a little bit of luck involved in these things as far as where your students are and where the cutoff numbers are. And then you've got Post, which is now an enormous 2A. It has 222 students, and that cutoff was 224, whereas Abernathy turned in 230. And I thought that was close. Of course, more locally to the city center, I think that the big news is Lubbock Cooper is dropping down to the newly invented 5A Division II along with Plainview. And we believe that they will be in a district together. And it's funny because all the other Division II schools in the state are out of this area. And you've got a bunch concentrated in El Paso that you could go play. You've got a bunch concentrated in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex you could play. But as far as Greater West Texas, there's 6 of them, and you think that that's about enough for a district. So it looks like it'll probably be Cooper, Plainview, Canyon-Randall, Wichita Falls High, Wichita Falls Ryder, and Abilene Wiley forming up to make a district. They won't reveal the districts until February 1st, although all 6 of those teams now know that they're for sure going 5A Division II. But I think that obviously makes sense since they're so much closer to each other than to the schools out in the Metroplex or El Paso. So I think that's the exact district you're going to get when they reveal it on February 1st. Yeah,
that's going to be exciting there if you throw in those Wichita Falls team. And then, of course, Abilene Wiley, who seems to be very good at all the sports they play. How about the Lubbock High, Lubbock Coronado, Lubbock Monterey? What kind of district do you see that they'll probably be in?
I think they'll just keep on keeping on. Obviously it hurts to lose Cooper, and they're gonna have to scrounge around for another school, and it'll probably be I don't know who that would be. It'd probably be just a leftover from District 3 5A that Plainview formerly played with, some Amarillo school. It could be Dumas. I don't know if they'd pull an Amarillo school away from its. It's probably going to be some kind of outlier like Dumas coming down and contributing to the 4-5A. But I think that Coronado, Monterey, and Lubbock High will definitely be sticking together no matter what happens.
And finally, Mike, Estacado, it looks like they're going to drop to 4A Division II. I know they had an early exit in the playoffs. Nobody expected them to exit this early, but how could that move affect and help them out going forward?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting move. And Levelland will be joining them too, as will Borger. So they're pretty much 3 of 4 teams from their district are moving down to 4A Division II, and it's definitely a different world. At 4A Division I, you're playing schools as large as about 950, and the minimum there is, I think, 790. And here on the Division II level, you could be playing teams with 543 up to 789, and both Levelland and Estacado are up of 750. Actually, that's a lie. Estacado's at 743, but very close. And the point is that they're big dogs. They're the big fish in a smaller pond now. But it's going to be interesting where they get placed. You can look north, you can look south, but there's not a clear spot for them just yet. If they went south, where Seminole is bounced up from Division II to Division I, you could put them like in a Monaghan, Sweetwater, Pecos, Fort Stockton kind of district. I think that's the less likely of 2 situations. I think the more likely thing is that they'll join up with Bushland and Dalhart and those schools up there. But either way, there's going to be some travel involved still for Estacado and Levelland, with exception to when they play each other. But I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good for them to not be in this 14 district where everyone makes the playoffs. And I think the competition will go up for them in spite of dropping down to Division II. But they're going to have a lot of bodies to select from and probably field some of the stronger teams in the state at that level.
He's Mike Graham from Lonestar Varsity taking the time to join us. You're going to Abilene again this weekend to see Coronado and Denton Ryan. Have fun out there. Safe travels. As always, Mike, we appreciate the time.
Thank you very much for having me on. I always appreciate it.
Mike Graham from Lonestar Varsity join us here on the High School Fan Zone, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com.